And go. Huge welcome, everybody, to our Hour of Power. This is a special Hour of Power. If you're wondering, this came out of the blue. You're kind of going, it's not normally Hour of Power Day. But it was just too good an opportunity to be able to pass up. I was very blessed to be able to spend Monday with this amazing man. And it was just the challenging, the questioning, the growing, and the brainstorming was just really, really amazing. And so I asked him, would he mind squeezing in some time for all of our greater team to be able to listen to some of his wisdom. And he graciously accepted. So we squeezed in between everything else that he was doing here on Friday. And so I'm absolutely thrilled. So the first thing I'm going to challenge you to do is make sure you get your pen and papers out and start to write down some notes. We're just going to go with the flow a little bit here. But for those of you who may not have actually come across Richard before, I just want to read you a little bit from his bio. He's a full-time network marketing sales leader and company owner since 1977. I know there's a few of you on here that weren't even born then, I know, and that, but yeah, so around the traps a while, a little bit longer than me, but not much longer. He built his own team of over 30,000 active partners in 4 years at the age of 22. Richard owned his own network marketing companies from 1986 to 2017, and when he sold them to a billion-dollar multi-level marketing company. In those 30 years, Richard served on the board of the directors of the Direct Selling Association and on its ethics committee, pioneering ethical changes in our profession. He is also an author of MAC2, Your Hair on Fire, The Art of Vision, which we've got here, also the 4-year career, and is the host of the Heroes Series podcast and many other trainings. So we're thrilled that you're able to join us today, Richard. Thank you so much for your time.
It's an honor, Celine. Thank you for asking me.
It's been cool, and it's just so lovely getting to know you and Kimmy more as well. Not only are you an amazing, obviously, businessman and leader within our profession, but you're just an all-around good guy too. So, and I love people that have got a heart for our profession, as well as just kind of, it being another business opportunity and that. So thank you for coming along today on that.
Yep.
So let's get into it, shall we? The very first question I wanted to actually ask you is, because, we have done an Hour of Power before, and for those of you who haven't watched that, I'm going to encourage you to go back and do it, because there was certainly a lot of truth bombs in there. But one of the very first things out of the gate that I'd love to ask you is, why did you write the 4-year career? What did you feel was the gap that this particular book, because it's more than a book, it's a tool, needed to fill?
Well, I wrote the book, Celine, in 2009, but I created the concept in 1979, which, gosh, that's like 40 years ago, right? And I created the concept in preparation of trying to recruit some college kids at Drake University in Des Moines, Iowa, which is in the central part of the United States. I was living there. I was trying to build a business. I was not successful. And I just got this idea that, it would be easy to recruit college kids. And so I was thinking about, well, how will I recruit them? What will I say to them? And so I was just thinking about, well, they go to college for 4 years. And I was just wondering myself, like, how many hours a day or a week do they spend as a freshman? And then how many hours do they spend as a sophomore, and then a junior, and then a senior? I don't know if you use those same nomenclature here in Australia, but, it's first year, second year, third year, fourth year, and then they graduate. And one of the things that I had always thought about, and I thought about it with me, and I asked a lot of other people these questions is, so you graduate from college, and it seems like kind of the paradigm is that you just seek out the first job, the first decent job anybody will offer you that's in line with your degree. And then I asked people a lot of questions about, okay, your life and your story. And what I found is this pattern that people would get the first decent job out of college, and they would build their entire life out of that decision. That's where they would live. That's what they would do for a living. They may change jobs. They may change companies, but it all sort of spun out of that first decision, even perhaps who they married, everything. And so I got this idea. I said, what if I could entice these kids into having broader options their fifth year than to take the first job? What if they could travel the world for a year? What if they could travel the United States for a year? What if they could do service work? What if they could just take the year off and goof off, since they spent so much time working? And so I just came up with this concept of, when you're a freshman, invest 10 hours a week. When you're a sophomore, 15 hours a week. When you're a junior and senior, maybe 20 hours a week, and graduate college with a residual income from the network marketing company. At that time, I wanted to do my network marketing company. Graduate college with a residual income. And it was 1979, so I think I was talking to them about $3,000 or $4,000 a month. But that would allow them to not have to take the first job, to have freedom, to have choices. Yeah. And then I was casting this vision for them about how much life could be different for them if they spent a year or two learning about life and their options before they started on what was going to be their career. And of course, as you might expect, not one of them signed up. I took that concept and spent some more time on designing the presentation, and I started to use it in my enrollments. Because here's what I learned in enrolling. 43 years full-time in this profession, I have presented to thousands and thousands of people one-on-one. Forget about the people I've presented to in groups. I've presented to thousands and thousands of people one-on-one. And in almost every case where people said no, saying no, saying, I'm not interested in these kind of products. I'm not interested in what these products do. I like your company. I think your management is bad. I think your website is bad. Of course, we didn't have websites back then, but they weren't criticizing my company or my products usually. Usually why they said no is they could not see themselves doing network marketing. And so when I would ask them, well, what do you think you're going to have to do? They would get it all wrong, right? They would think they had to go door to door, or they had to, bother all their friends constantly, or whatever their limited experience was from network marketing. That's how they described it. And so I started using the 4-year career as the tip of the spear in my presentation. I put my products and my company on the back burner. And what I used as the tip of the spear was, let me show you the wealth building opportunity in network marketing. Because most people think, when they think about network marketing, maybe they think about making some extra money, or they think about selling products. What they don't think about is the residual or the asset income nature of the income that we earn. And so there's 4 cornerstones of the 4-year career, but they all culminate on distinguishing for people the difference between earning $1,000 or $2,000 a month in earned income because you're selling a product or something, and earning $1,000 or $2,000 a month because you have built something that pays you that kind of money, whether you work or not.
Yeah.
And the difference is like 200 times the value. $1,000 a month is worth $1,000 a month. $1,000 a month in asset income is worth $200,000. And so I just started using the presentation. I turned it into a video. It was a video for about 20 years. And in 2009, I put it into a book. And the reason I put it into a book is I found that, I wanted to scale the presentation. I wanted my whole team to be able to use it. And I found that the video was good, but people watch videos with a certain skepticism. They watch videos with a certain filter about, okay, this is marketing. And so I can't believe everything I'm hearing. And the video was actually me for an hour in front of a crowd presenting the 4-year career. So it was an obvious pitch. So I got the idea that if it was in a book, people would see it as education. They'd see it as wisdom. They'd see it as truth. They wouldn't see it as a pitch. And it worked. When you put this book in people's hands with the right conversation at the right time, and you get them to read it, you're dealing with an entirely different prospect than when you're trying to get them enrolled in your company or your comp plan or even your products.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. I love it. And the thing is, too, that it is such an easy read. I remember the very first copy that I had, which is quite a few years ago now. It was one of those things where, you were able to read it. It just made so much sense that you were able to easily read it. But also, for me, I know that it answered a number of my questions at the time. In the 4-year career, before we kind of go on to how you would best use it now, you talk about the 4 cornerstones of the 4-year career. And I think for many of our team here, again, it's getting into that space of really understanding, what it is that we're actually all about. And the first one, of course, is people. Do you want to touch briefly on, what are those 4 cornerstones of the 4-year career?
Yeah, and I have some worksheets I might be able to drop in the comments here later, Celine, that might help people understand it. The 4 cornerstones are the people, the sales, the compensation plan, compensation, the income, and the asset value. People, sales, income, asset value. So the first cornerstone is distinguishing for people the difference between direct sales as they know it and network marketing. Direct sales, as most people know it, is if there's a product and there's an opportunity to make money, what I'm supposed to do is sell a whole bunch of the product. That's the way that model works. And so I spend some time in the cornerstone number 1 distinguishing for people in network marketing the model's different. And it's different by design. It scales faster the way we do it. The barrier of entry is lower. The expectations from each individual person is lower. We don't focus on how much product any individual sells. We focus on how many different people, the total number of people we have selling the product. And, this paradigm shift, this rule change, if you will, came about in 1946 with a company in California called California Vitamins. They invented network marketing. They were a direct selling company, and they just decided to change the rules. They decided to create chaos, and they decided to let anybody recruit. They decided to let anybody have a sales team. They no longer appointed people to have a sales team and be a sales manager. They no longer interviewed and hired salespeople. They let everybody be a salesperson. They let everybody be a sales manager. And I don't know if they knew it at the time. I'm assuming they did, but maybe they didn't. Is by allowing everyone to recruit and to recruit immediately. In other words, by allowing everyone to have a sales team at their discretion when they want to, where they want to, without any territories and any size sales team. See, before, the model was basically, if you were a really good salesperson, they would appoint you to be a sales manager. They would give you a territory. They would tell you how many salespeople you had, and you earned on those salespeople. That was the old direct selling model. So most people earned most of their money on product they sold, and maybe they got an override on a team. And there's been hybrids, but the true network marketing happened with California Vitamins, where they said, everybody gets to build a sales team from day one. Everybody gets to recruit from day one. And what that day one and everyone from day one, what that created was the geometric growth possibility of the sales organization. Because if I can sponsor you today, Celine, and you can sponsor somebody tomorrow, and I can sponsor somebody tomorrow, and you could sponsor somebody else tomorrow, and the person you sponsored can sponsor somebody else tomorrow, then you have a generational growth. You could look at it like a family tree. If you go back 10, 15 generations of your family, that's how your family grew. That's how rabbits grow. That's that concept, that mathematical concept. And so in cornerstone number 1, I spend however much time I need to spend until people get it, that this is not about how much product you sell, There might be a minimum you have to sell, but the objective is, go see how many customers you can get. It's, it's perfectly fine if somebody wants to do that, but that's not how of network marketing. How you maximize the payout is you get customers, but then you get people who get customers, and they get people who get customers, and you build a sales team. And so the simplest way to show that to people is through a compounded geometric growth of the sales organization through a model. I just chose the model 4 who get 4. You can use 3 who get 3, 2 who get 2, 5 who get 5, 7 who get 7, 10 who get 10. But by showing people 1, 4, 16, 64, 256, 1,024, 4,096, that shows people the geometric potential growth of the sales organization. And so I stay on cornerstone number 1 when I'm talking to a prospect until they get it. Because if they don't get the numbers, if they don't get that concept of a lot of people doing a little bit each, then the rest of it doesn't matter. Yeah. But once they understand that, then I go to cornerstone number 2, which is really simple. This is the sales. Okay, we have the sales force. How do we get sales? And sales is really simple. That's like a 2-minute conversation. Nobody does this unless they're a raving fan of the products. You can't fake it in network marketing for 5 or 10 or 15 years. You have to be an authentic, raving fan of the products. If you are, you're going to recommend the products. You're going to get customers. You're going to use the products yourself. I can't remember if we did this in Newcastle with the leadership group, but I do it as often as I can. I go around the room with a group of sales leaders. I say, how much of these products do you use a month personally in your home?
Yeah.
And that number's not $100 a month. It's between $200 and $800 a month worth of the raving fan products. And then, okay, if you're using $300 or $400 a month, how many customers do you need? You really only need 1 to double that number. And all of a sudden, we're talking about each of the people in the sales force doing $400, $500, $600, $700 a month in sales.
Yeah.
Maybe more.
Mm-hmm.
And then we go to the 3rd cornerstone, which is very simply, how do you get paid? And I never, in the 4-year career, I never show my company's compensation plan. I don't show anything about it.
Yep.
I just tell them you get paid about 5 to 7% on all that volume. And that's real easy to calculate. So if I've shown you, 200 people and they're all doing $400 a month, times 7%, there's your income.
Yep.
And then the 4th cornerstone, I spend, again, a significant amount of time on, which is explaining to people the difference between $2,000 a month in earned income and $2,000 a month in asset income, and how if your $2,000 a month is being earned to you, spread out over a couple of hundred people, then each person on your team might be earning you $5, $10, $15, $20 a month. So none of them individually can make or break you.
Yeah.
So if somebody's having a bad month, other people can be having a good month. If you have that team of 200 spread over enough time zones, you're getting paid while you sleep. And then you might be working the business 10 hours a week. But if you have 200 people working the business 10 hours a week, you're getting paid on your 10 hours, but you're also getting paid on 2,000 hours a week.
Yeah.
That's leveraging your time.
Totally.
And then I show them the potential growth of that 200, all of it targeted to a conversation of, look, when you get to $2,000 a month from a couple of hundred people, the likelihood is that $2,000 a month is going to sustain itself no matter what you do, which means now all of a sudden you've built something that's worth about $400,000 as an asset. Mm-hmm. And I give them some comparisons, real estate, equities, so people understand, wow, I can create something in 4 or 5 years that would take me 40 years of saving investing. And I don't have to put up any money. I don't have to risk any money. All I have to do is fall in love with the product, fall in love with the business concept, and just go ask people if they're willing to take a look at it.
And I have to say, that was the light bulb moment for me. I remember, actually, I think I was coming back on a plane from the States. This is a good few years ago now. And reading this whole part of it, because I had moved, I suppose, within our profession, I'd moved from more of the direct sales model in the company that I had started my career in, into the network marketing model. And seeing the power and the difference of that was actually quite profound, because at that point in time, having, you know, a young family and all the rest kind of thing, we didn't have, like, for example, $1 million sitting in a bank somewhere that we're just going to be earning income on from the interest. And what I hadn't realized was, even in just starting to build my business, what asset I actually had sitting there. I hadn't even kind of, you know, I suppose, linked the fact of a check coming in month after month with the fact that that's actually an asset. It was like that interest, you know, coming in. That wasn't on my efforts. You know, there was the part that came through, yes, that was on my singular efforts with my customers, etc. But this was on the efforts of all of those other people that had been introduced, I'd introduced, and then they'd introduced, and so on. So I really want you to take a moment, team, to actually really think about that, the gift that you're sitting on. Because, you know, there are times, I was having some conversations with some leaders yesterday, there are times when we take for granted, even say, for example, those beautiful souls who join our business, and maybe all they ever choose to do is have a handful of customers. But that's a handful of customers that is coming, you know, they're eating our product, eating Juice Plus every single day, every single week, every single month. And that is adding to your payload on which you then get paid. And, you know, it is Gratitude Month, and I actually think it's really important to focus on, you know, all of that's there. When you start to, when those light bulbs go on, and on page 62 here, Richard actually speaks to, like, there's you, and just say in that ideal world where it was 4, 16, 64, 256, that's 340 people that just say, in this example, a really simple one, it's $200 worth of sales. That's $68,000 that's actually going through. When we start to think about it like that, I remember Jordan Adler saying one place where when he was speaking, he said, it's the big money comes from the little money. It's the little money that's actually the most powerful for you. That there is a $1 million asset value.
Yeah, you'd have to have $1 million worth of rental real estate to pay you. If you're doing 68,000 in sales and you get paid about 7%, that's about $4,000 a month. And, you know, maybe on those sales, you could get 5, 6, 7%, something like that. Usually I find if it's relatively new volume, you're going to get about 7%. That's $4,000 a month. You'd have to own a home worth $1 million in most real estate markets to get $4,000 a month rent out of it. Now there's exceptions. I'm here in Noosa, you know, probably if you owned $1 million home here, you'd rent it by the week and you'd make more than that. But then of course you have to probably pay 40% of that to a rental management company. And you got maintenance fees, and you got taxes, and you got repairs and all that kind of stuff. There are headaches, of course, to renting a home. And building a network, you know, just because it's asset income, that doesn't mean you can go sit on the beach for the rest of your life. What it means is, you know, you might have to tend to it like you would a rental home, like you would a stock portfolio, where you pay attention to it. You do some recognition, you're on a Zoom, you go to some events. But the point is, if you had to, for example, let's say you got sick or disabled, or maybe a family member got sick or disabled, and you had to go be with that person and make that person all of your time and attention, you'd still get paid. Yeah. Or maybe you want to go travel the world, you still get paid. You know, you can be on a Zoom once a week and travel the world, right? You can recognize and edify people on Facebook and Instagram and still travel the world. So it's that kind of attention that you can put on an organization when it gets big enough, and you can get paid for the rest of your life if you pick the right company. And, you know, you and I have talked, and I've talked to your team about, none of this happens and none of this makes any sense at all if you pick a company that has products that are not even going to be in demand or relevant 20 years from now or 30 years from now or 40 years from now. And how do you know whether products are going to be relevant in the future? Well, the only way to really know is to think about the past. You know, how long have these products stood up? Because there's been technological changes. You know, our world has changed more in the last 25 years than it did in the last 250 years before that. But Juice Plus products have stood up. They've stood up to all of that change in the marketplace, in education and technology and how people buy products, all of it. So that's the best way to anticipate, if I build something here, will what I have built be relevant 25 years from now? And, you know, so if you really understand that concept and people start bringing you opportunities and products, the first question I ask people when they bring me a product, say, hey, what do you think I should join this company? I say, well, what are the odds that people are going to be really wanting to buy that product 25 years from now? And that eliminates 90% of them. And then my question is, okay, this company you want to join, what proof do you have that they know how to build and sustain a network marketing business to pay you for 25 years? And, you know, usually the proof comes back, well, they claim they're going to be the next billion-dollar company. That's pretty stupid. So there's really probably only, I don't know, 10 or 15 companies in our entire profession, maybe 20, that are worthy of investing 4 or 5 years of your reputation and your time and your effort, because they've proven that you're going to get paid.
Yeah. Yeah, that is the beautiful thing about it. So, so with this book, how would you then best encourage people to be able to use it as a tool? Because it's not just about going out and handing out these books to everybody and kind of going, okay, read that, and thinking that they're going to just jump on board. How is the best way to be able to get the most out of this?
Well, there is the authentic, casual, intuitive way, which I can't tell you how to do.
Yeah.
It is just, if you feel authentically called to share the book with someone, then you might just say, hey, read this book. And you just have to make that up based on the moment and your relationship and the context and your intuition and how you want to authentically present it.
And I have done that many times over the years. I don't know how many of the 4-year career I've actually given away. I remember ordering my first box. The freight was more than the books, but it was a great investment. Great investment. Well,
there is a more structured way that people can learn to use the book intentionally. And the vision that I cast for people is, just imagine that you had, let's say, 30 people reading this book, and all stages of your relationship with them. 30 people reading this book, and then what you do after that is you just sort of mine that opportunity, mining it by following up with the people, finding out where they're at with the book. Did they read it? What did they think about it? Like that. If you keep 30 books in play in your marketplace, you are always going to be presenting. Every week, you're going to be presenting to somebody that really understands what we're talking about. They may not be sold yet, but they understand it from a totally different perspective. Now, how do you get to the point of having that many books in play? Through this system. So this is a system. Step 1 of the system is that you always have a book with you. Always have. And Celine, you and I learned that lesson right on the street here in Hastings. So I have one Mach 2 in Australia left to my name.
Yeah.
And you had one in your purse. And we met somebody who was not a prospect, but it was a great opportunity for me, maybe not for you, but it was a great opportunity for me to give her a 4-year career. She was a skincare network marketer in a different company.
Yeah.
And so anytime I meet somebody that's in one of those 20s worth building in, I always edify them and support them and cheer them on. And so she was wearing a company shirt. So you and I called her over. Hey, want to, congratulate you, find out who you are. And I don't know, you said something. I think you said something about the book.
Yeah, I did.
So we're like, well, we'll give you one. And so I didn't have anything. You're digging in your purse. All you have is a Mach 2. So how many times, you just notice this now moving forward, once I teach you this, you just notice how many times you have the opportunity to hand somebody a book, but you don't have one with you because you did not maintain step 1 of the system, which is to always have a book in your purse, in your coat, in your back pocket, in your briefcase. And I found so many times just having the book in my car is not enough.
Yeah.
Because if my car's not more than 20 seconds away, I just won't go get the book. I won't bring it up. And so here's what thing. If you don't have the book with you, you won't bring it up. If you have the book with you, you'll bring it up. Mm-hmm. And so here's how you bring it up. You go through, I don't know if this crowd has, I guess they probably have not, for the most part, studied the Authentic Networker, which is kind of my core model of what I teach. But that process is that you get curious about people and you ask them about themselves and you listen, you're present, and there's 7 steps to it or 8 steps to it. And so in the process of that, let's say, Celine, I'm talking to you, I'm asking you questions, I'm listening. And one of the premises of all of this is if you sort of weigh most of us around how much we know about our products and how much we know about our opportunity, most sales leaders in strong product companies with great products, they're way weighted on the product.
Yeah.
I could probably ask 100 Juice Plus distributors, hey, tell me about these products. And I could get 20 minutes of very articulate, very confident, very clear, very passionate information about the products. And if I ask, well, give me 20 minutes on the wealth building opportunity of Juice Plus, of those same people, most of them would stutter and stammer. They would not be able to give me the same conviction and the same content as they can on the product. So we're weighted on product. And part of what I teach people to do is get balanced. And when you get balanced, so you know as much about the opportunity as you do about the products, then when I'm talking to you, Celine, and I'm asking you questions and I'm listening to you, I hear the opportunity that you speak for me to follow up around opportunity. And so there's this concept called confirmation bias, which I won't explain it. You can Google it, you can study it, but it basically means this. Whatever you and I own as content, whatever our opinions are, whatever we know a lot about, whatever our philosophies, our beliefs are, when we're talking to other people, we tend to hear what they say that reinforces our belief. We don't tend to hear what they say that doesn't apply to what we believe or even contrast what we believe. It tends to go over our head. We don't hear it. Yeah. So my point is this, if you're super product oriented and I'm talking to you, Celine, and you say, well, I don't sleep well at night. I don't have enough energy during the day. And I'm a little, and I've got Bobby who's about ready to go to college. I'll just talk about the products because what I heard was you don't sleep very well and you don't have much energy. And Bobby in college went right over my head.
Yeah.
because I don't have a good solution for Bobby in college on the tip of my tongue. So part of getting prepped to use the book is to study the book.
Yes.
So you carry a book with you at all times, and what you're doing with that book is you're reading it and you're studying it, and you're reading it and studying it to prepare you to teach it. So I have a philosophy, which I didn't make it up, but it's a philosophy that I promote, that a book is not worth reading unless you can teach it. Because we're in the duplication business. It's not what you know, it's what you can get 100 people on your team to know. We're in the leverage business. So anything you're going to spend time reading, unless it's just entertainment, don't read 5 books a month. Read 1 book for 5 months until you can teach it. And then you'll get the ripple effect. You'll get the leverage. You'll get the compounding. So step 1 is to have a book with you at all times. Step 2 is to be reading the book at all time with the intention of teaching it. Step 3 is to get in conversations with people and be listening for when they give you an opportunity to talk about money, wealth, debt, income, lifestyle, like that, freedom, right? And so when you hear something like that, here's what I've found works for me. And I do not like scripts. I don't like people using scripts. I like people being authentic. I'm just going to tell you what I say that is authentic for me. So if Celine, you say something about, and I got little Bobby who's about ready to go to college, I'm going to say, well, where does he want to go to college? How much is that going to cost? Does he have scholarships? Are you going to have to come up with that money? I'm going to ask a few more questions about that until I can expose that you have a problem with funding that education, assuming there is a problem there. Now, if you say it's all paid for, we go on to another subject. But if you say, yeah, I'm not sure how we're going to fund his college, then I pull up the book and I show it to you and I say, hey, Celine, I'm reading this book that's teaching me how to create an income. And I'm just making these words up. They're not memorized, but you can just follow them. How to create an income in the next 3 or 4 years. Enough income, Celine, to pay for little Johnny's college, anywhere he wants to go. And, Celine, I get paid that money for life. So after college is done for little Johnny, that money comes to me. And maybe you have other kids that need to go to college, and maybe you just will enjoy a higher lifestyle because you have more money. In any way, Celine, this book will teach you how to fund his college education without changing your job or your career. So what I'm doing is I'm listening to you. I'm listening to the problem that you have, and then I'm casting a solution vision back to you in the form of, it's in this book.
Yeah.
And then I simply ask you this question. And until you get a better question, just try it. And the question is, if that were true, Celine, would you want to read about it?
Yeah. Love that question.
If that were true, would you want to read about it? And I have been doing this with the book, Celine, for almost 10 years. And I've never had a person say no.
Yeah. No.
I've had lots of people not read the book.
Yeah.
I've had lots of people read the book and say they're not interested. But when I tell them the book is a solution to a problem they told me they had, and I ask them if that were true, would they want to read about it? There's some magic to the structure of that question. They say yes. And then I simply say, it'll take you about an hour, maybe 2 hours at the most to go through it. I'll loan you. So this is the classic, if I will you, if I would you, age-old contract, mutual promise that you make with a prospect. If I loan it to you, Celine, will you promise to read it in the next 2 days? And my system is I only give them 2 days to read it. If they tell me they're going on vacation and they're blah, 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 and they're busy, 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 and maybe they can and they'll try, I don't give it to them. I always hold the integrity of, you only get it if you promise to read it in the next 2 days. If you can't promise that, I'll give it to you when you can promise it.
Yep.
And I need that because I want to create value in the book. And I also want to have a clean, simple follow-up system which says, I'm calling you back in 2 days.
Yeah.
I don't want to figure out calling you back in a week, 10 days, 11 days, 13 days, 3 weeks, 2 days. Everybody I give a book to, call them back in 2 days. And I don't do anything fancy. I ask the worst question possible from a sales standpoint at the end of 2 days. Celine, what'd you think about it? I don't try to manipulate you. What'd you like best about it? Where do you see yourself? Blah, 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 blah. People hate those questions. What I want to know after you read the book, I want to know what you thought about it. If you thought it stunk, if you hate it, if you're never, ever, ever going to do it now that you read this book, I want to know that.
I love it.
Totally cool. I want to know the truth.
Yeah. I love it. And that comes back to that whole being authentic and that authentic networking. Richard has even put a little place in the very beginning of the book there that you can write a little message, but you can also go, this book is loaned to you by, and I love it, return it or pay it forward, which is great. And if you think about it, if you were to have, 5, 10, whatever of these books constantly doing the rounds, that's a lot of conversations that you're actually following up. But there are a lot of conversations that are actually pre-qualifying themselves, first of all, even by taking the book and then reading the book.
Yeah.
So after somebody has read that and they're ready to come on board, that they've actually started with a good understanding.
There's a quiz at the end of the book for the person reading it that kind of qualifies whether or not they're going to be a good candidate or not. And they know it and you know it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. That's awesome. Now, somebody asked me about our authentic networker, and that's actually a course that Richard actually does. So I want you to check that out. It's in the newsletter and it's in the Facebook group as well. And I'm going to be popping onto that one as well. And it's tomorrow, actually. There is one happening tomorrow, the Authentic Networker Virtual Workshop. So if you haven't seen that in the newsletter, make sure that you check that out. I will be putting it on. Now, I know we're kind of coming close to the top of the hour, but there's also, I just wanted to kind of just touch very, very briefly, because first of all, has anybody got any questions? If you've got any questions about the 4-year career, please put it in there. I'm going to encourage you. This is, as I say, this is a tool that I've had for many years now, and I just love it. I loved it, first of all, from the point of view of the, I suppose, the belief and understanding it gave me in network marketing, but also making it a lot easier to be able to have the conversation. Sometimes we get stuck on what to say when people ask it about, asset or the money or whatever. This actually, at the very beginning, it blows a few of the myths out of the water as well. So it's a fantastic teaching tool, learning tool, and then sharing tool. So really going to encourage you about that. And we have got those available for you to be able to get your hands on quick and easily as well. Richard, and I know also too, Kimmy, of course, has done the 4-year career for women as well. So again, I love that as well. Just slightly different, but a lot of the same in there too.
Yeah, her book is actually more popular than mine.
We won't tell her that. Right. It's slightly different. But one of the other things that I really do just very quickly just want to touch on, because I know that you've got a workshop about this coming up in a few months' time. And we've been, really reading this, and you gifted this to actually some of our beautiful attendees at our NMD school earlier in August. And that is that Mac 2 and a Hair on Fire. In a little snapshot, why would people find this one useful?
Well, that book is a higher level book. It is a deeper book. It is targeted at solving the #1 problem network marketers have, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Which is motivation. And motivation is not desire. One of the things that book will teach you about is that desire is a misleading concept in terms of its value. Everybody wants to make, $10,000 a month in network marketing. That's a big so what. And notice that the universe doesn't move in accordance very well with what you and I want. Motivation is about the story we tell ourselves, not about wanting it, but about the inevitability of it. And so what that book teaches you how to do is create a story and memorize a story and internalize a story that what you want becomes inevitable, that you're going to do the work. Big part of motivation just shows up every day. To build a successful network marketing business, you have to do something every day. You have to connect with people every day. You have to invite them to take a look. 2 or 3 times a week, you got to do a presentation. You can't do that once a month. You can't do it whenever you feel like it. You have to do it methodically. You have to do it systematically. You have to do it habitually, naturally, effortlessly. It has to be fun. You have to love doing it. And so there's a process to get to that point, which is all encased in motivation. And so what I teach in that book is how to develop that motivation. Where does it come from? How to harness it, how to create it, how to craft it, how to make it natural and effortless for you so that you get away from the sort of the ping pong motivation, which is most people are motivated to do the work to build a network marketing business based entirely on the last result they got. So if the last person you talked to said yes, then you talk to the next person. If the next person said yes, you talk to the next person. If the next person said no, you're not as inclined to talk to the next person. You might, but you might not. And we all know that the failure rate in network marketing is astronomical. It's huge. And is that because people don't want to succeed? Is it because they don't have time? Is it because they don't love the products? Is it because they can't sell? Really? They can sell if they want to sell.
Yeah.
The missing is people talk themselves out of this. They ask themselves these questions. Well, what if I fail? And then unfortunately, they answer the question. Well, if I fail, it'll be horrible. Everybody will hate me. I'll be miserable. This is the conversation they have. And what we teach people in Mach 2 is how to develop a different conversation and how to take it to a high art, internalize it so that it's natural, so that you get up on top of the power curve, you create your own motivation, and doesn't matter what contest the company's having, doesn't matter who quit, doesn't matter who said no. You get yourself and keep yourself on fire every day about doing the work that needs to be done and also about the end result.
I love it. I love it. And it's a great book. It's a great workbook. But again, it's another one that, it's not about just reading it. It's actually, really getting into it, using it as a workbook, and then reading it enough times to teach. And it was funny. I had your voice in my head when I was in the airport the other day. I often buy books at airports. And so it was kind of going, no, I can't buy another book until I make sure I've read the last one cover to cover a number of times.
Yes.
So it is great. I love it. I would be saying to each of you, really, I think it's a great skill to have, is to read a book so well that you can actually teach it. So I'm going to wrap us up as we're coming close to it. So what I'm going to say is a few actions out of here. The first thing that I would encourage all of you to do is actually to think about getting onto that authentic networking webinar tomorrow. The details will be in the group. They're already in the group, but I will post that as well. The second thing is, for any of you who are wanting to be able to get your hands on some of these books, we have ordered them ahead of time. Richard very kindly sorted all that out for us. We've ordered them, and so we have stock, and I'll be putting the link to be able to order them. Again, get it, read it, learn it enough to actually teach it. Okay, that's the thing that I would encourage you to do, and that each one of these is gold. And lastly, I'm going to give some books away. So if you want to win a book, okay, you need to type your name in the chat, because what I'll be able to do is I'll actually be able to print the chat off and cut it all up. So put your full name in the chat. There, I see all the first names coming through, but that's okay, just so that I can do the draw later on. So look at it, it's lighting up. Everybody wants to win a book. Everybody's putting their names in there. Fantastic. So keep on doing that while you're going. And then, as I said, in a couple of months' time, I know that there is more training that you're going to be doing, Richard, but I would encourage each of you to go to your fan page. Richard, just tell us the best way for them to go to be able to make sure they're connecting with you and hearing about some of this great content that is happening.
Well, there are two ways they can connect with me. One is richardbrooke.com, BROOKE, richardbrooke.com. You can subscribe to my blog there. Everything I'm doing is also there. And then my fan page is Richard Bliss Brooke. And I think my personal page is the same. So you want to just look for the fan page. I think it says a public figure.
Yes, it does. It does.
I can probably drop a link in the comments here.
Yeah. And there's some great, there's some great little lives that Richard's been doing. I was listening to, watching a couple of them yesterday as well. So get on there and continue to educate yourself on, some awesome tools that Richard provides. Richard, thank you so much. Really, really appreciate your time. I know that you've got a busy day of calls today, so I am thrilled that you're able to kind of sneak us into the middle there to be able to add value. And when you actually click on the link, Casey, I can see you're asking about the time. You'll see the time in your area, and that. Oh, thank you. Thanks for putting that in there, Richard, as well. Excellent. Okay, well, let's actually put us onto main screen again. I'm going to unmute everybody so that you can say thank you very much.